How you doing, guys? Here's what I'm working on today. This is my 2006 Kawasaki Ninja 650 build that I was been doing, and here's a problem that I have. The ignition key is a separate key than the fuel tank, and I don't like that. I don't want to have to be carrying two of these big old keys with me as I'm out on a ride somewhere to put gas in it. And I know doesn't seem like a big deal, and it may not be for most people, but it is for me because I don't like dealing with keys in my pocket and having to rustle around and find the right key to open the fuel tank, and then go inside the store or whatever and come back out, put the wrong key in the ignition, fumble around, get the right key in, all that. I want it to be on the same key. So what I'm going to try to do today is take out this lock cylinder and see how it works, and see if I can grind down the little pins in there to accept any key, because I don't really care what key opens this as long as the same key can open the tank as it opens the bike. 99% of the time this bike's going to be parked in my garage, so I'm not really worried about somebody stealing the gas out of it or any of that. I just want to be able to open and close it with the same key. I know it's a simple thing, but it bugs me. So I'm going to see if we can take this out. I'm going to have to do this one-handed. I had surgery on my shoulder, or my elbow, and so I only have use of one arm, and I'm bored, tired of sitting around not doing anything. So we're going to give this a shot, see if we can do it one-handed. Hopefully I don't make a big mess. Alright, first thing, I'm not sure how this whole locking mechanism comes apart. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just try to take out the two screws right here and see if that drops down everything. I see there are it looks like a couple screws right here that must be hidden underneath of this gasket somehow. No, it doesn't look like it. Looks like they're just okay, those are just springs for, I guess, how it closes and latches. So I'm going to get something and put over this fuel tank here. I could take all these screws out here around and take the whole ring off, and I may do that. I think I'm going to do that actually, just to get it off of here and over on a workbench where it might be easier for me to handle one-handed. So, and then we'll take these screws out and see if we can get the whole lock cylinder out and kind of see how it works, and see if we can get it apart enough to grind the tumblers down where it will take any key to open it but still work properly. Alright, here's what I didn't want to happen. I took the two screws out that was holding this little mechanism on here that locks down in the tank, and everything popped out and the spring popped out. That was the unfortunate thing of doing it one-handed. So now we have to remember how this goes together. It slides in here like this, and then this mechanism, you have to compress the spring and get it to set on there like so. And it's going to be kind of difficult to do one-handed. I might have to enlist some help when I go to put this back together of how it goes. But I'm going to set this aside. I want to remember how it goes. And that plate goes on. This plate goes on here to hold it in like that. And it sits underneath of this. And there's a little pin that goes into that. So hopefully you got all that. We'll just set that aside for now, and let's turn our attention back to this piece. I'm going to try to see if I can set the camera up here a little bit, so when I take this apart, it can get it all in one shot here. Let's see if I can do this one-handed here. Alright, so this piece slides off, and you've got these little springs up here that help hold it all together. So that kind of goes right in like that. And it has two notches there where the screws go through, and this little lever right here sits in there. Wow, I hope we can get this back together. Hopefully. If not, I'll be buying a new cap, I guess. Alright, so now we're to the lock cylinder here and how that works. So, I don't know if this will just pull out or if we have to turn it to the unlock position and get it to come out. Let me see first if these little springs, yep, they do come off the little pins. I have one on each of the corners here. Alright, so there's 6 little springs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 springs that go in there. And so now we see we have some Phillips screws right here, and I'm thinking if we take these Phillips screws off here, that will drop the whole cylinder down. And okay, I thought the camera was going, but it wasn't. I took the 6 screws out. There were 6 screws that held this plate to the top of the cap, and this little lever or little metal piece here is what goes on to keep help the lid, the little lid at the top. Let me see if I can show you. Keep that closed. This little metal spring piece here sits in there like that. So we're going to set this aside. And now I think we're down to the lock cylinder, and we'll have to figure out how this comes out, if it comes out. Let's see, yeah, I marked the key that goes to this lid with black marker. And so now we have to see if there's a position it goes in that pulls this cylinder out. Some of them have one little pin that all that pin does is keep the cylinder in its spot. I know that much. Alright guys, so we got the bottom piece off right here. It sits in here, and then it has this rubber O-ring that kind of goes in and holds everything in there. So I pulled that rubber O-ring out with the bent staple, of all things. Got that out. So now I'm going to figure out how this releases to let the key and tumblers and everything fall out. So that's the next part. Okay guys, we got the lock out. This last wafer right here on the top, if you push it in, it lets you pull the whole locking mechanism out. Alright, so we got it out now, and so you can see here that all the tumblers, when this key is put in, all of them are down and flat. And so if we pull that key out, we see them all pop up. So now we need to be able to get them all flat when we put this key in. See these down here and these two up here. So we're going to file all these down and try to make them flat when they go in, except for this top one. That top one just goes in to hold it in place into the locking housing. So when the key's out, all of them will be out, and when the key's in, we'll have to file these down, keep them from popping up on this side, file all those down, file that one down, and then put it back together, hopefully, and these lower two down here, and then hopefully we'll get it filed down enough where this key will work in it. Alright guys, so here's what we did. I had to enlist the help of my wife, and she doesn't want to be recorded, so had her hold my grinder as I pushed these pins out and ground them all down. Now hopefully they're ground down enough where, as you can see, I pull the key out and none of them really come out any, but that's alright. So I put the key back in. They all seem flat enough, so we're going to try to install this back in the assembly here, put it all back together and see how it works. Alright guys, so we've got the lock back in. So right now it's in the position where you could remove the key, and now it was rotating all the way around, so one pin must still be a little bit catching, because it was working. We'll turn it this way. There we go. Rotates all the way around. Key comes out. Rotates all the way around to unlock it. Key will not come out. Goes back around to where it's locked. Key comes out. Alright, so I think we're good. So now I got to try to figure out how to put all this stuff back together. And as you can see, I pulled the key out and I pushed that wafer back up in here, that one pin, so that one pin is still holding the whole lock assembly in. Alright, so let me figure out which direction I need to put all this back together and be right back. Alright, so if you're looking at the lock mechanism, it goes in like this. It has two prongs up here. They go towards the top. So it just sits in here. And I went ahead and sprayed some WD-40 in there to hopefully make everything work a little smoother. So that goes in there, and then the little gasket, put it on here, and I'm going to press it down back where it belongs with this little. Sorry about that. That's what the joy of working one-handed. So I'm going to press this back in. So that holds this piece in. Alright, now these other pieces right here that I'm assuming, since there's little holes all the way through here, that's just like pressure release for the tank. And so I'm going to put those back in, how they were. See if I can remember how all those went back together. This little like brass piece went right in here, and then you had this little black cap that's spring loaded. It drops down in this other one. Put that in, put the little spring back in. And so I'm sure this is just for like the summer when you get pressure in your tank. It will push this spring back and let the pressure release from the tank. Alright, so get that all in. Main cap piece on now, because the holes get covered up by the gasket and seal that seals the tank shut. So let's do that part next. Alright, so this is how this piece goes on. It has this little silver piece that just sits right on top there, and then you have your rest of your cap should line up. And you have these 5 little screws that go into the plastic part of the, or the aluminum part of the cap, and these were not very tight at all. So I'm going to put those in. And we might do a time lapse to speed this up. Alright, so now we have the seal. I believe this piece Alright, so there's this other plastic piece in here. Not quite sure how it goes in there. I think it must sit on top of here somehow. There we go. Goes that way. You can see where it was resting inside on this seal. So I'm going to flip this over and get that to line up. Alright. Almost forgot one thing. Take this back off. We forgot all our little springs here. So we've got these little springs that sit on top of this vent, or this cap. Alright, now this piece goes on. Line up. Alright, so now we got the rubber springs in there. Alright, I'm going to have to pause for just a second here. Alright guys, I was able to work the spring back inside of there. Now I've got to get it on here the correct way, which I think it's this way. And try to keep that spring together. How do we do this? Let's take this apart. Get this plate. Very carefully. We're going to figure out how this plate goes on here. Plate has one dimple there. Got this thing coming, popping out, back out. I think we can do it that way. Put the plate back on. And then we have to get this lined up the right way. To drop in here. I think it's like that. So it wasn't too bad. This is easier than I thought. Let's get these screws in here before this spring decides it wants to pop back out. And like I said, I'm not supposed to be using my right hand, but just kind of laying it there, not really putting any pressure with my right hand, just holding it in place. So, get this tightened down. I don't know what just happened with my camera. It looks like part of it flipped out, but can't do anything about it right now. So hopefully it's still recording okay. So we're going to tighten that down. Alright, so now let's see if it works with the key. That works. Good. And yep, there we go. It's working. I can see the little levers going back and forth, and this is the ignition key because I put black on the key that was for the tank, and that key still works as well. All right, cool. So I think we got it right. We're gonna put it back on the tank, and we're gonna see how it works. All right, guys. So we're back here at the bike. Here's the ignition key. Turns the bike on. Pull that out. Open the gas cap up. And there's the key. Same key, works. So push that down. I can't do it one-handed. But there we go. One key fits both now. So it's basically rekeying your lock, or actually, if you want to say, screwing your lock up. So they can both work on the same key. That's how you can do it without taking it to a locksmith and probably paying $125 an hour to get them to rekey your lock, especially on a bike like this that you care about, but it's just the fuel tank. And this bike, I know that the cap had been changed, or something here had been changed, the tank or something, because my ignition key works here, and the ignition key works for popping the seat up on the bike. So I know that this was the lock that had been changed before. This tank was damaged when I bought the bike, and I'm sure somebody had dropped it before or wrecked it before and damaged the original tank, because this tank was a different color than the back fairing pieces, which I'm guessing were stock. May not have been. Don't know the history on this bike. But now we've got it working where everything's working off of one key, and now I only have to have one key on my key ring. And I just don't like having this big bulky second key, and it's rubbing all around on here and ruining the new paint that I just painted this thing. And it's easier to put gas in the bike when you're stopped to just have one key to deal with. So there we go. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe. Hope this helped you out. If you have a bike, this should work on probably Suzuki, probably pretty much any motorcycle lock. So hopefully that helps. Thanks.